Last year, Haute42 introduced the P12, and to this day, the P12 stands out from its peers in some important ways. It's the only controller in their library with an injection molded plastic body, the only one with a tournament lock, and the only controller they've released that looks like a completely original design. It's what I would call a legitimate looking controller. Now, several months later, we have an upgrade to the P12. This iteration boasts several changes that, in my opinion, completely replaces the P12 in a few meaningful ways. So let's take a closer look at this brand new release. This is the P12 Pro. Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. I just want to quickly thank Haute42 for sending this over to me. I do get to keep the controller, but no instructions were given and all opinions are my own. Pick a number between 1 to 16, and if the ruby bead lands on your number, you get to hit the subscribe button. If a silver bead lands on your number, just hit the like button for me to send this video out to the algorithm. Thanks so much for the support. Like all GP2040 based controllers, the P12 Pro is compatible with PC, Mac, Switch, Android, iOS and PS4. It's also compatible with PS5 and Series X via authentication dongles. And even though it's compatible with PlayStation consoles, it's not an officially licensed controller, so there are some things I have to skirt around in this review. For example, this has a 30th anniversary colorway. 30th anniversary of what exactly? Since by their own admission, Haute42 has only been in the game for 10 years. Well, your guess is as good as mine, but I'm sure your guess is going to be quite good. Let's go over some of the features of the P12 Pro. It has a 207 by 104 by 13mm injection molded ABS plastic body, so it's lighter than the Haute42's acrylic stack and aluminium models. This is a 12 button controller. All the action and direction caps are 23.5mm and the jump button is 25.8mm. The action buttons have a curve on the right side, so I would say it's in between a Vuelix and a Noir layout. It has a screen and EXT port, which makes good use of the GP2040 software's capabilities. For PS5 players, I recommend Haute42's own Bluetooth 5 because it has a tiny footprint. Link is below. There are 7 function buttons in a layout that is unique compared to Haute42's other models. These feel like membrane style buttons to me, which are different from the usual wobbly micro switch buttons on acrylic stack builds. So let's talk about the main features that set this apart from the standard P12. First of all, Haute42 understood that the original P12 sounds very hollow, and to counteract this, they've included case foam and keycap foam. This solution is seen a lot in the mechanical keyboard world, and the idea is simple: filling the empty spaces with foam to limit sound from bouncing around inside the controller. This should give the timbre a deeper, gentler quality, which is more pleasant for everyone in your household. If you're a masochist and you prefer to forego this improvement in sound quality, you can do so easily by unscrewing the case to remove the foam. Another difference to the P12 is the switches. The older model uses Haute42's crystal switches. These feel like Kale Reds and are completely transparent. Great for showing off RGB. The P12 Pro, on the other hand, comes installed with Haute42's brand new shadow hunting switches. Compared to crystals, they have a solid, creamier sound. The travel distance is shorter, so buttons sit lower on these, and they have a smoky black finish on top, so while some RGB does come through, it's not as effective as the crystals. I personally think that the RGB trade-off is a good one, and I like the shadow hunting switches. The last important feature is the colorway and overall design. As you can see, the P12 has branding on the chamfer, it has labeling on the top plate, and it's pure black. The P12 Pro, on the other hand, borrows aesthetics from a popular gaming brand that is celebrating its 30th year on the market. The labeling is on the buttons instead of the body, and even the function labels are themed. If you look at the P12, there's back, minus, and home. The P12 Pro has select, touch, and PS. They've even left out the Haute42 logo from the chamfer here to stay on brand. Or should I say off brand. Anyway, around the back there is another nod to someone's anniversary. The 2 non-slip pads are grey to match the overall theme. Finally, for my OCD bros, even though the jump button is off center, the start and select buttons do add symmetry to the whole controller. The function keys are lined up neatly, and the face buttons are equally distanced from the edges on both sides. There is a small speck of white on my review unit. I'm not sure if they were going to add some branding here and change their mind in the last second, but I hope the retail units you receive won't have this. If you don't like the plain grey keycaps, the P12 Pro comes packaged with 4 extra keycaps that have some familiar coloured shapes on them. I should have mentioned this in my OCD section, but the blue X cap is slightly wonky. Again, I'm not sure if this is an early review unit thing or if it's possibly a way to circumvent any legal troubles. Either way, I recommend putting these on because they really complete the overall aesthetic of the pad. They also look like they have a slightly different coating than the P12 caps. Only time will tell how they fare, but at the moment they seem to be less prone to sweat and scratches. As I mentioned earlier, if you prefer to not have foam dampening, you can open the body to remove the pieces of foam. Other than that, your options for modding are limited. You can play with GP2040 options with RGB and screen customization, but I recommend leaving everything else alone. It already looks good and feels good with the stock shadow hunting switches. Due to the small size of the P12 Pro, it won't be ideal for some people when it comes to lap play because it works best if you keep your legs closed. It is light enough to prop up in various positions, but having to anchor it down with your pinky fingers and palm might cause other long-term discomfort in the hands. And half the reason we're using leverless controllers is to avoid hand issues, right? It's not for any kind of advantage or anything. There is some wobble on my unit during desk play and it's more noticeable on the Pro than the standard P12. This could be another quality control thing with my review unit, but it won't be an issue if you plan on using this mostly on the lap. One thing I do love about the Pro is that it's super quiet. I've done late night training sessions on this without feeling embarrassed by the racket I'm causing. It's the quietest leverless controller straight out of the box that I've tested. With the right switches, I'm sure it can be even quieter if that's what you need. The spacing seems to be identical to the Haute42 model, so if you like how that feels on your hands, you'll be right at home here. I find the spacing very comfortable, and with this controller, floating the hands like a pianist feels best. This was a very bold move by Haute42, but I'm glad they did it because I really like the colorway they went with. It's not like this new model is just a different splash of paint though. It's 100% a meaningful upgrade. Better soundproofing, better stock switches, better keycaps. I wouldn't be able to recommend the older model over this to anyone, unless they prefer the triple black look and sound profile of the original P12. If that's you, we can never be friends. I'm joking, of course. As with most things in this hobby, it's all down to preference. Now what I would really prefer, please hear me out on this Haute42, is a P12 Pro Max. That's right. Make this exact chassis with all its curves, the membrane function buttons, tournament lock, anniversary colorway in an aluminium body. Let me know if you guys are on board with that idea in the comments or what you want to see from Haute42 down the line. If you're interested in the P12 Pro, please use my links below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And finally, this has nothing to do with today's video, but I just want to congratulate one of my favorite gaming brands for being in the business for 3 decades. Happy 30th anniversary to you, Playtest.